This car definitely took a frame shot. We can see where a pole or something smacked it right here. Maybe prom night 1981, little Leonard Skinner on the 8-track, little Miller beer or something like that, some Mother Nature going on, and lose sight of the road, and this is what happens. Hey, Stephen Yanni here doing the Junkyard Crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts. Now, we all know that in 1964, the Pontiac GTO was the first muscle car, big engine in a mid-sized platform. We all know, too, that John DeLorean and the rule breakers at Pontiac weren't supposed to put that 389 into a mid-sized car. GM had a mandate that nothing bigger than 330 cubic inches would be used in the mid-size. Well, something like 45,000 GTOs were sold in 64, and GM says, you know, maybe it's okay to put bigger engines in smaller cars. So for 65, GM said you can put a 400 in the mid-size car, but nothing bigger. Well, Buick didn't listen. This is a 1966 Buick GS400, but it's actually a GS401. That's because Buick didn't have a 400 cubic inch V8 in 1965 or 6 when these things came out. They had a 401, but GM looked the other way, or nobody cared to bring it up. But this is a real 66 GS400. This was Buick's answer to the GTO, the Olds 442, the SS Chevelle, the 396, and we know this is a GS400 because the cowl tag says 446 in the style code. And there it is, man. That's 446 means nothing less than GS400. Now for 67, there was something called a GS340, kind of a downsized muscle car. But again, 66, 65, GS400, nothing but 401 cubes and 325 horsepower. Now this one has, of course, the manual drum brakes up front, no power booster. Power steering, kind of an unusual thing. When you see power steering, you usually see power brakes, but not here. But again, that's the single circuit master. Paint code on this, W2, that is silver frost metallic. We can see some bits shining through here, but this thing's been painted a bunch of times in primer. But something about these cars, it's a little bit shocking, especially to me, I'm kind of a Mopar guy at the core, where you get 11-inch drums on anything with power, was GM's use of 9.5-inch drums. But on GS, they were finned, cast iron drums, and again, fairly decent drum, pretty much up to the job. But I always wondered why the full-size Buick 12-inch aluminum drum wasn't specified for the GS Skylarks. I don't get it. But anyway, these were the standard brakes. 67 would see an option of discs, but again, 66 right here, drums and nothing but. Inside this one, let's have a peek and see. Okay, this one, the pedals are gone, but we can learn this was an automatic. How do we know that? Well, the dashboard has this little spot right here. Behind that, we can see the quadrant for the automatic. And you notice it goes low and drive. Yeah, 2-speed automatic in 66. It wasn't a power glide. It was something called the Super Turbine 300, which was a Buick-based transmission. But again, not a 4-speed or a 3-speed manual here. At least it has the buckets, which is kind of cool. Let's look here, too. This is a catalog here of 66 Buicks, the tuned cars. This is a full line catalog right here with everything from the little ones to the big ones. But here we see the GS400 page, and right there, GS400, the tuned for extra go. And here's the thing, in 66 Pontiac, the GTO hardtop was $2,847. Meanwhile, the GS400 was, what do we have here? Oh yeah, 3,019. So like $200 difference. And here's the thing, the GTO could be had with a 389 with tri-power carburation. Meanwhile, one size fits all. Now production, of course, the GTO, 96,946 units in 66 versus only 13,816 GS400. So the thing is, the Buick was not nearly as popular. But here we have regular equipment, 325 horsepower, 445 V8. Now keep in mind, 445 is not the cubes, that's the torque output, which was Buick's little nomenclature. Dual exhaust, standard, heavy-duty Grand Sport suspension, 3-speed manual floor shift. Yeah, that was the base tranny. Deluxe wheel covers. You paid extra for the 14-inch wheels were possible. And again, finned alloy iron drum brakes front and rear. And here's rear axle ratios. This one here being an automatic would have the 293 axle, and options over here, we see here $42.13 for the performance differential and for the locking differential. So $42, but you didn't get a posi in these things as a guarantee, not at all. You can get heater defrost, delete, yeah, heater delete, $71.50 credit. See the parentheses around that, you could actually do that. And here we have chrome plated wheels, $73.72, which we do see on this car, and let's look at them right now. Right in the back, These are those 14 by 6-inch chrome-plated wheels, which were, again, the $70 option on the Buick GS400. And beyond the VIN, other GS400 details on this. This has been bondoed over. It would have had a logo here, GS400. At the back, the rear panel here is blacked out. Again, GS Grand Sport would have gone right here, but we can see the holes for it. And let's see if we can open this trunk. Let's use my church key and see. Nope, ain't gonna happen. Oh well, another time. But anyway, this is the tail of the GS400, and I wouldn't say that SS396 Chevelles would have seen this tail too often, and maybe an automatic GTO, this might have led the way. They were kind of equal in performance. 15-second car, fairly quick for what it was, but again, Buick's muscle car right here. And here's the rear axle, and this is a 50-50 shot that somebody paid the $42.13 for the positive traction differential inside of this 10-bolt rear end. And here are the coil springs, and we can see over time somebody tried to crutch a sagging coil by putting that screw-in spacer. That was a classic trick in the 70s and 80s. Coil over rear shocks, again, not factory. But again, this has dual exhaust, and this is the 9.5-inch rear drum. And again, this might be a positive traction differential, but as an automatic car, this probably has the 293 ratio. 336s were possible, but unlike Chevrolet, we could get a 373, even a 411 from the factory. These were pretty tame cars by comparison, at least at this point in time. By 1970, the GS455 Stage 1 with 510 foot-pounds would change everything. But this is a humble start for the Grand Sport. We look inside, here are the bucket seats, and I love this on the instrument cluster on the dashboard. GS, just a very sinister looking, serious effect right there. Very different from the script of the Skylark, but it just shows you this is the performance model. This is the one that don't mess around. But again, this one was a column shifted automatic. I don't see any signs of a console, but again, the quadrant indicator, the shift indicator there inside of the dash tells us this absolutely was an automatic. And again, with that said, it would have been a 2-speed automatic. 1967 would bring the Turbo 400, which of course we'd have first, second, drive. Meanwhile, these things you had first and drive, and that was kind of it. It limited performance to a degree. They were good around town, but really for 2-speed automatics aren't great for general performance use. And that's what this would have had. Again, we have the drum brake up front here. Pretty decent fender on this one. This car definitely took a frame shot. We can see where a pole or something smacked it right here. Maybe prom night 1981, little Leonard Skinner on the 8-track, little Miller beer or something like that, some Mother Nature going on, and lose sight of the road, and this is what happens. But again, these are blacked out grills, again, GS specific stuff. And it's funny how General Motors or any car maker quite often would take the same grill that you got in a 6-cylinder special, but add some blackout treatment for a sinister effect to make that the Grand Sport. This also would have had a Grand Sport logo here, a GS. And again, don't say Grand Sport, Grand National. These are Grand Sports, no D on the end of Grand. Meanwhile, in the 80s, the Grand National was another Buick of repute. But again, this is second year, 1966, for the mighty GS400, but it was actually a GS401. Don't tell anybody, I won't if you won't. But anyway, that's the story here. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Maggs YouTube channel and hit the like button and ring the bell. That way you'll be alerted when the new video hits tomorrow morning. And in the meantime, we also have a backlog, a channel playlist of like 300 videos you can watch right now if you want. You name it, we got a video on it. So we'll see you tomorrow morning with more Junkyard Crawl.